Well, the race at Texas, man, this is a conversation we've talked about having, Mike. Looking on Jeff Gluck's good race poll, I think Texas got like 60-40. Texas has been in the news a little bit here the past 24 hours because they apparently are not on the IndyCar schedule going forward. Mm-hmm. That has upset a few people. People are thinking that it might be because some issues with the Cup schedule and delays in that coming out. Montreal was rumored to be part of the Cup schedule, and now maybe it ain't, and people are thinking that maybe we're going to Iowa for a year instead, and it's made everybody have to shuffle things around, and Texas inadvertently had to change some things about their plans for having IndyCar there. I don't really know what the truth is for all that.
A lot of rumors.
A lot of rumors, man.
Yeah.
But anyways, Texas. So the last couple of races at Texas, for me, have been good. I've enjoyed them, the Xfinity races and the Cup races. And it wasn't long ago when none of us really were that excited about Texas, didn't know what to do with it. We were even talking about rebuilding it, turning it into a short track. There was a ton of, I think, real conversations. And Marcus Smith, I believe, was even considering, like, I need to do something. Something has to change. I'm going to do something. Don't know what that is. And then we went there and we had a couple of good races. They've quit treating the track. The cars are now starting to wear away whatever treatment is still remaining, which is great. Just let them keep on working that out of there and getting all that old PJ1 off the track. The cars are moving up the racetrack using the second, third, fourth groove in turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It's still still got some ways to go and some improvements to make, but the track is actually turning into what you want. It is. But the good race poll was sort of split more 50-50 than I expected. A lot of people didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed it. I mean, I'm up in the booth as broadcaster, so I'm watching it a little bit differently, and I'm a little bit preoccupied by some other things going on as opposed to what someone maybe sitting at home is doing and how they're taking the race in. Mike, you watched the race?
Yeah.
Weren't that blown away by it?
Well, it's funny. It's funny how you mentioned the New York trip, how you already are pessimistic about the next one.
Yep.
I think I find myself feeling the same way about Texas just because of the, the several years. First of all, I used to love Texas.
Yeah.
But then after a while when the races started, declining in terms of, competitiveness and all that kind of made it hard to pass. Start doing different things in 1 and 2. Like there's a bit of a pessimism or skepticism that I approach Texas. To the point that you were making to me yesterday, the actual race actually had a lot of compelling moments in it.
Yeah, it did.
And if you just approached it with a little bit more optimism, which I'm talking to myself, it'd probably be a little bit more evident that the race was actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
And that Texas did actually deliver some of the compelling moments that you look for in a race.
I agree. So I put this in my notes when we were going to Texas. We're writing our notes as NBC broadcasters and what are some of the things that we need to be focused on and some of the things we need to pay attention to. And one of my notes was we need to help people understand that Texas is turning in the right direction. We need to help people we need to point out the when and the why and the what of, how this track is sort of evolving into a pretty decent little racetrack. The 1.5 mile product for the next gen's been really good at places like Charlotte and Kansas. Charlotte is awesome. Yeah. So awesome that the Roval is going away. So they say. We could have 2 oval races back at Charlotte again, which I love that. The thing with Texas is I believe the track is headed in the right direction, and I think that it's just going to continue to get better. In my mind, better is cars moving around, running multiple grooves, providing opportunities, for passes throughout the field. And that's where we're going with Texas compared to where we were 4 years ago at Texas. It's a good difference. It's a good change. It's just going to continue that way. And what's probably slowing that down a little bit is the PJ1, the old PJ1 that's still sort of stuck to the racetrack. And as they continue to wear that away and it becomes less of an issue, the track's really going to be awesome. So I think now Marcus Smith and his team are putting the pause button on any changes to the racetrack, which I think is probably a smart thing to do. This is a big risk financially, and I know there's probably been some simulations built and done by iRacing, and to try to help Marcus see opportunities and what they could do. But I think that they're probably going to sit for a while and let this track sort of continue to evolve. I think that's the right thing to do. A lot of people will point to the fact that there was really no passes for the lead during the race. It just so happens that the 5 car was 3/10 faster in the field anytime he wanted to be. So I don't, no matter where we were racing, he was so good that no one was going to pass him unless something happened. And that was not a Texas problem. That was just a damn fast number 5, right? And so I think that if we can, like you say, change. That was my point to writing that note to myself, really, and sharing it with my colleagues. I think we go into Texas dreading the worst, and even when we get something decent, we're not fulfilled. And I try to tell myself, look, man, it's actually going to be a pretty good show, and it measured up to my expectations. And so hopefully, I don't. This is an important market. It's an important racetrack. It needs to be successful, and I'm not trying. I don't have any feeling inside of me that makes me think I'm blowing this out of proportion or pumping sunshine. So,
well, do you allow yourself? The answer may be no, but do you allow yourself to think about how you would have viewed that race had you been at home and not broadcasting? Because when you're broadcasting, it's just such a completely different vantage point.
Well, I think I don't know I have no clue what it was like for a viewer. It's hard for me to imagine what that would be like, but I will say, in my position up there, I've got a bunch of monitors in front of me giving me lap times and give me so much data, right, and information. So it helps me. It points my eyes to where the battles are, where the races are, where races are developing. Where you can't really do that at home without investing a ton of focus, right? And when you're at home, you're like, I just want to watch. I don't really want to work. And so
that's right.
Yeah, and so like when when you sit down and watch a football game, right? You get up, go walk out the garage, put something away, come back, a couple plays have went by, you sort of catch back up to speed and see what's going on, and then you're going to go into the kitchen and grab you something to eat and mess around, and your wife asks you to go upstairs and put one of the kids to bed. You're just kind of plugging in and out, right?
That's right.
So maybe if you watched it that way, or if that's the way I would have watched that race, I don't know what my feelings would have been.
Right. I did want to ask you another question since we're on the topic of updates or upgrades to the track facility. For the first time, it seems like some of the conversation and narrative coming out of Texas was not just about the track, but also there's been a couple people talking about the facilities themselves feels a little dilapidated. That's probably too harsh of a word, but needs renovations itself, like just the overall facility. Do you have an opinion on that?
I feel like this, up in the suites, they look fine to me. Okay. They don't look, it ain't like ceiling tiles are sagging and they're stained or, it don't look, the bathrooms are clean, at least in the, we were using a suite. The second booth where me and Jeff were was a suite, full-on suite in between other suite full of people.
Seemed fine.
Right? Seemed fine.
Okay. No, that's all you need to say on that then.
Look, now, when I pulled out of, look, it's Texas. It's dry and it's not going to be green and there's not going to be like, trees everywhere and just so sort of beautiful
Utopia.
oasis. Yeah, it's not going to be like that. But, so when you pull out of the track, I went to the dirt track the night before to watch Wyatt race, and, you pull out, and it's just, it's like it looks like storage for camping. It looks like camper storage. Just campers everywhere, and there's nothing else.
All right, there we go.
But I don't know. I mean, I saw somebody talking about Bristol, like they go to Bristol and they sort of had this been there, done that feeling. They don't feel like they're getting anything new each time they go back for that experience at that certain track, right? And I'm like, wow, really? Bristol to me is hustling and bustling. There's so much. When we drive around from the bus lot to the other side of the racetrack to go to the TV compound, there's all kinds of vendors and just stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Things to check out, do, buy, whatever, right? Souvenir rigs everywhere and food vendors and so I don't know what's missing.
Okay.
There's concerts, there's entertainment. I don't know what's missing for the fan.
Okay, so going back to the race, the one thing that Texas delivered, one was the playoff drivers, the playoff race here in this particular round. I mean, there's all kinds of moving and shaking going on. It delivered strategy with Bubba Wallace doing exactly what I think that NASCAR would want when you create this stage point system where there's a decision to make. Either you're going for the race, win, or you're going to go for stage points. And he had that decision, and he went for the win because he had the car to do it. There was a fantastic debate on Door Bumper Clear this week. I think we were going to do that for Flying Lap. But, man, TJ and Freddie went at it a little bit just about whether or not that was the right call for Bubba. So, Texas gave us all those moments. Martin Truex has another, complete, dumpster fire of a race, and he continues this backward spiral, which is unbelievable. That's our regular season champion.
Yeah.
So when you think about all those things, some pretty gnarly wrecks. Yeah, Texas, it looked hard to drive, frankly. I mean, Kyle Larson, when he bust his butt out there with that dominant car, it looks hard to drive. What do you ask for a racetrack? In other words, to challenge the drivers. So Texas delivered those things. We got to be honest, right?
I agree. I mean, Texas had all kinds of storylines, and definitely at the end of the race, we had a bunch of traumatic things happening that were pretty compelling. Kyle Larson dominating the day and then having issues late. The Bubba Wallace, in his situation is sort of a bit of an underdog in terms of how many, his lack of stage points, his lack of playoff points. And his strategy throughout the race and whether that was going to pay off or not, whether they were doing the right thing or not to try to maximize their day and win the race even. He set himself up to have an opportunity to win the race late, and he's about to go launch himself into the next round with a win, right? And William Byron, who does this often, just churns out a good day, and then he's sitting there late with an opportunity to win the race and pulls it off, right?
Just does it.
Yeah, just pulls it off. Here he comes out of nowhere. And so just when you weren't sure whether William Byron was still a championship contender, and that, to me, that's, for me, I'll say this as a fan. I am not entertained by this. I'm not entertained by this sport unless I really invest in the storylines. And I used to struggle with that. I used to not really want to deal with the storylines or care about them, right? I just want to see awesome race. I want to see a damn race and get up and go, heck yeah, I want to go next week, or I can't wait to come back here next year. It was very singular. But now it's like, I'm the story of there's all these stories that are compelling to me that it used to not really get into, used to not think much about. But like Ford's struggles this year, they just weren't able to run with the other manufacturers. And then RFK, starts becoming the best Ford, and they continue to be the best Ford team. And Penske is just kind of struggling. They were just not great at Texas, and it's like sooner or later you're like, Penske's going to get it together, right? They are, right? When's this going to happen? We're kind of getting down to the end here. And that's just one of the storylines.
Yeah.
Truex will dominate for like a string of 3 or 4 races, or just seem to be the best team overall. And then he struggled all through the first round. He really kind of struggled at Texas. He wasn't ever really one of the best cars at all. And it's like, what's happened to him? Are they gonna flip the switch again and come back to the top?
Right.
Because I really thought they were the best team. And then we go through round 1, and Denny's car was just lightning fast in all the races in round 1. And he was probably going to be that way again at Texas without the damage. So now you're like, okay, well, is Denny's the best? Maybe Denny's the best, right? What's going to happen to him? He's probably peaking too soon. There's so much turnover.
Yeah. Here's another one, by the way, that's not even in the playoff storylines, but you guys brought it up. Steve Letarte had a great line about it, and that was the Legacy Motor Club. All of a sudden, the day that they lose the manufacturing support because they're switching manufacturers, all of a sudden they're competitive, or they're running significantly better with a guy that didn't start off the year being their driver.
Well, they've been running their best with Eric.
And yeah, that's true.
But I mean, I know you're talking about Hocevar. Hocevar's done a good job, but you can see him still like making the typical mistakes that a guy that's running his 3rd or 4th race in a Cup car is going to make. Right. He's still showing the flashes, that the potential that's going to be there one day. But how does that even happen? Right. Those guys, they sucked. They were so bad, and you're thinking, yeah, this year's a wash for them. They're not going to make nothing out of this. They're going to get to the end of the year, tear off all the Chevrolet bodies, and regroup, and try to come back and do something different.
Try to start.
But now they're like, I mean, literally, he was. If the 5 wasn't the best car, then the 43 was.
Yeah.
It's surprising, and again, like just as easy as they went from just as easily as they went from. His Legacy Motor Club went from a 30th place car to a top 5 car, like overnight. They did that. That could happen for anybody. It could happen for Penske. It could happen for anybody. That's what's crazy about this. And all you've got to do is be that good at one race at Phoenix for the championship. Mm-hmm. Even if Denny is fast all through the playoffs, he might show up at Phoenix and only be the 3rd best car. Right. Which would be great any other day. Right. But it ain't going to be good enough that day. Right. That's what is, for lack of a better word, unfortunate.